Barnes & Noble. We're looking for Gary Vaynerchuk. Hopefully he'll be in the house tonight. Let's go see. Come on. Let's go.
Oh, you're looking much older than your time. You better start thinking about slowing down. Maybe sooner or later you'll see the light. 'Cause every night's not a drink and drown. Making deals with the devil just to keep from doing time.
Like
Gary Vaynerchuk. Let's see if we can go find Where do you draw the line? Okay, let me ask you that right here. I gotta ask you one simple question. Gary in the house tonight. Yeah, awesome. Draw the line. Question. Here.
So, with that, I'd love to open up some Q&A because I don't want to just yap all night. So, thank you guys so much for having me. Sean, how are you?
Doing all right.
Awesome.
Just a quick question about,
yeah.
You've been talking a lot about business to consumer. And
yes.
I think in Ohio, there's a lot, I run a web design company and basically...
Are we going to talk about B2B?
Yeah, well, you guessed it. So
yeah.
99% of our clients have
yeah.
business to business, so yeah. It's like, how do you
So one of my favorite parts about this book is the line where I say, behind every B2B is a C, right? I don't know about you guys, but I do B2B. I mean, you know, I've never sold to a computer, right? There's a human being that decided if I'm going to do, you know, as a matter of fact, as somebody who grew up heavily in B2C my whole life, wine, e-commerce, baseball cards, like I've always been a consumer guy. B2B is awesome, right? Because like B2B, it's high stakes, high risk, high reward, right? Like one dude or one chick makes a $1 million decision, right? Like you can win big, you can lose big. I think it's very fascinating. My favorite part of this book is the case study of the guy with the telephone company system. A tweet goes out. And this is thank you so much for bringing this up. It makes me make a good point that I missed. A tweet goes out. Super pissed with my phone system. And he mentions the phone system. The competitor to the phone system sees it, jumps in. Now this is where it gets good. What the competitor did and why I decided to use him in my book is he executed what I believed in, which is this. If you are going to engage in the social web, you have to think of yourself only as a service. if you are a merchant, which most of us are, even if we're in services, we're selling, you have to become a service bigger than you are. When I engaged with people about wine in 2007 and I started building my name, when I was using Surmise.com, which was later bought and now is search.twitter.com, and I searched Chardonnay and Merlot and Pinot Grigio, I never said to anybody, oh, we've got a 20% off discount on Pinot Grigio this week, or here's free shipping to WineLibrary.com, or oh, weird, I just did a show on Shiraz on Wine Library TV, here's the link. I never did that once. I always acted as the service above. I asked them what kind of wine they liked, what food were they having, what occasion, what other wines, and then my hope and intent was that then they would look at my profile, because I was being nice and helping them pick out a Chardonnay, they would see Wine Library TV, click it, that would bring them into my universe, they would watch the show, hopefully they could get through the first 10 seconds when I was yelling at them, and if they could, and they enjoyed the content, I would keep them, and whatever percentage my skill set and my content was to be, that would be the rate I would convert those engagements with. This guy did a similar thing. He didn't do what I see 99% of you guys and everybody on Twitter does, which is go in and try to close. Everybody's acting like a 19-year-old dude on Twitter. Everybody's trying to close on the first move. Yeah. You need to relax just a hair. Just 2 moves and it's good. This guy came in, and he helped the guy completely fix the phone system. You can see the tweets going back and forth. Several hours, helped him, cold, and he was out. Cool, good for you. 2 months later, the contract on the phone system came up, and that guy happened to be the guy who made the decision, the CFO, not just some guy. And he switched over to this guy, which was a $250,000 account. So, what I would tell you this is, if you're a web designer, or a developer, or whatever it may be, if you were to allocate some piece of time each day to go to search.twitter, to go to forums, to go to blogs and provide service, that is my very firm belief that that will lead to business generation. That there is some conversion of, transaction, and that you've got a vetted community, right? You can go to literally, you can be very local. I don't know how many of you guys know this. This is what I was talking to Dick Costolo, the CEO of Twitter today. They're doing a terrible job explaining their product, in my opinion. For example, I believe that 90% of the people that use Twitter have no idea that if you start with the @ symbol, when you talk to somebody, only the people that follow both of you and the person you started talking to with the @ symbol, only the people that follow both of you actually see that in their screen. It is my firm belief that most people have no idea that. I've met with a whole bunch of people that definitely don't know. This is a little bit more of a savvy crowd, but I know you don't want to admit it. Some of you are like, holy crap. Right? and that is what kept so many people away from engaging, and I wouldn't either. If everything went in everybody's stream, I wouldn't be doing Twitter the way I would do it, because nobody wants to see at Lewis House cool, at Jamie awesome, at at Lala sweet. Like, nobody wants to see that. The people that are engaging want to see it. Maybe the friends of both people think that's kind of cool. So anyway, they do a really poor job. I think another place they do a poor job in letting people know is, I don't know if you know this, but if you go to search.twitter and you type in, I don't know, HTML5, right, or WordPress, or chopping, or CSS, anything that's relevant to your world, where somebody might say, I'm struggling with this, or what have you, that you can type in any word. I can type in Chardonnay, space, near, NEAR, colon, 07081, and only search people that are saying the word Chardonnay within a 5-mile radius of Wine Library. So, I've seen some good reactions facially on that one. This is always my favorite one, because so many people do feel like their target audience is only local, right? And so, if you feel you're local, and you want to test out some of the stuff I believe in, you type in a word, you use a space, you don't do the space bar or anything, you just hit space, and then you put near, NEAR, colon, and the zip code, all one word, all one, near, colon, 90210, no spaces, right? And whatever word you can search people talking about that stuff in your general area. So for me, that is quite fascinating and has a lot of upside. And listen, Facebook groups, there's enormous conversations going on right now around genres. The problem is, people that are good at selling go in and spam, and so they suck at social. And people that suck at selling just go and be social, and there's like, the people in between are the ones that are winning, right? So, there's enormous amounts of Facebook fan pages out there, whether it's lawyers, real estate, whatever you're doing. There are groups, people are conversating, helping each other. There's a lot of B2B opportunities. There's tons of B2C opportunities. Facebook, Twitter, I think Tumblr is becoming the emerging third platform. This one really sits well with people because it's more of a push platform. It's definitely a content-driven, kind of community, but very interesting to watch. So, behind every B is a C, and they're out there. And, not every industry has the most penetration on these sites, but every day that goes by, there's more and more. Yes, sir. What's your name?
My name is Zach.
Hey, Zach.
Hi. So my question is, I'm working as a social media person for a startup company. The thing is, they know they need social media, but they don't quite understand. Like you're saying, it's still a lot of push. And so I've just started working with them, and they get it, and they know they want me to do it right, but I send them stuff, and they say, okay, we'll do this, and it's all push. How would you recommend showing them that we need to be doing less pushing and more engaging? Because I'm having some. Yeah.
So, and I'm not joking, I think the biggest problem with people that know how to do it, they're in a tough spot, right? It's easy for me to say aggressively, right? I work for myself. We have too many clients coming in for VaynerMedia, so when I go into clients and start yelling at the CMO and saying, you suck, and everybody's like, holy shit, this guy's crazy. I'm like, no, I just don't need the business, and hopefully if I make my point, I'll get the business, right? So
don't yell.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend you, losing your job, but I will tell you this. I will tell you this, and I think a lot of people should hear this, because this really, really, really matters. I think it's imperative for you, Zach, that you don't lose your brand equity. Let me explain what I mean. Everybody is watching everything that's being done. We're all documenting our entire lives. I know a lot of people that are like internet marketers and this and that. I always yell at them like, listen, you're building your legacy. The way you make money is the way your grandkids are going to know how you make money. You got to think about this at least a little bit. It's important now. I know you need to, and listen, everybody needs to be practical. I would never begrudge people have student loans and this and that, the other thing. But we're all writing our legacy. The way we roll is forever. And so people in that startup are watching how you react to this. I think you have to be vocal and you have to say, listen, I'm here to do, you want me to do social, I want to do it right. Everything else we're doing is push. That's right, we should be. I have no problem with people, cooking banners and tracking people and converting and SEO and Google ads and knock yourself out. But social, pushing's just not going to work. You're just that creepy dude rolling up on every chick in a bar and going, hey baby. Like it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's nobody that's converting. Nobody. Do you know why so many people that are in traditional push marketing, conversion, affiliate marketing people, do you know why they hate social and they're like, it's bullshit? Because they're trying that tactic in social and it doesn't work. Just like if you didn't know how to do affiliate or conversions, if you weren't good at that, it wouldn't work there either. It just does not work. So I would tell you the most important part, bro, more than anything, is you make sure the 3 or 4 smartest people surrounding you, the people that are part of that startup or the people watching you from around, know that you know what you're talking about. Because I think way too many people want to appease their bosses, and they're like, fine, and they do it. And really, I think the most important part of this whole conversation, you're a young guy, is that you are on the right side of history. The reason I go out and go on CNN like I did the other night and say that Martha Stewart made me throw up on myself is not because I want to hurt Martha Stewart's feelings or because I'm making a joke. It's because I desperately want to be on the right side of history. I want people to look back at that moment and be like, crap, he was so right? I like that in Crush It, somewhere in the store, a book I wrote in 2008. I talk about Tumblr exploding and becoming important, and here we are in 2011 and it's starting to become part of that conversation. That makes me look good. I wish I had the videos of my first Chamber of Commerce talks in 1996 and 1997, where I told everybody that e-commerce was going to matter, and I asked the people in the crowd, how many of you would put a credit card into a computer, and nobody raised their hand out of 150 people, except like one weird dude, right? And I said, in 5 years, all of you will, and everybody begrudged and no, but I was right? And so being right matters to me. I mean, it's so fun to talk about Twitter in 2011. It was a lot harder in 2007. People are like, what? No. And so, I think being on the right side of history is very important. Tell them the way you feel, because this startup may turn into a different startup. It's kind of like, if this was Odeo, that turned into Twitter a year later, it would have been good that Ev thought you were right. You know what I mean? So I think that's very important. It's not selfish. It's you being, if you think I'm right, if you think you're right, I think
that's because I didn't want to sell out with it is the thing, is because I feel like, I want to
it's
stick
hard,
out
right?
what it is.
Because I understand as somebody who wants to do business and and selling it and trying to be patient, even if sometimes I get a hair impatient, it's so hard to play the patience card, especially when you got bills to pay, right? It's hard. I mean, it's not easy, and it's a lot easier when you are in a situation like I am, because once you've amassed something, you can rely on that. When you're really at zero, it's super hard. The fact of the matter is, then that's fine. Then social shouldn't be the way you should approach building your business. If you need quick returns, this is not your platform. Social media is not a silver bullet. It's not going to save your business. As a matter of fact, it may be the hardest place to build your business. It's the most transparent. It takes the most sweat equity. It's got the highest risk because everything is authentic. But it has the highest lifetime value returns. And that matters. It matters to me that there are people in this room right now that I've known for 3-4 years. That matters. That's how you convert. That's how you build something that lasts, not something that's 5 seconds. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Hey, man.
Eric Lutz.
Yeah.
First I want to say, I read both your books. Each one took me like a week to read. The best thing I love about your books is they're so short and they're compact and you don't waste words.
Thanks, man.
There's so many books out there that people just make them 300 pages.
It's just
make
that I'm
them
not that
300
smart,
pages.
and I just run out of things to say. So
That's right.
thanks. He wrote an article. His first article, like 3 years ago, was like, basically, if you know what The Source is, there was a hip hop magazine. There was a section in The Source that I loved growing up called Unsigned Hype. It was like who was going to be next, right? The first article I ever read was about, one of the first ones was about Notorious B.I.G. So I was like, this is going to be my guy, and then he ended up being like the biggest guy ever, so I was pumped. Anyway, we started this blog called Hip Hop at Lunch. The first person he writes about, basically, I think it was J. Cole first. He writes about Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj had 4,000 Twitter followers at the time. Now she's a big star, she has millions. She had 4,000. We hit her up, said, hey Nicki, check out the review. She was super pumped. She was 4,000. This is like before she got famous. She was on a couple Lil Wayne tracks, not even. She tweets it to 4,000, I'll never forget this, to 4,100 people. We got 3,700 click-throughs. As somebody who's close to 1 million, I wish I could get 370 click-throughs. So it's never the number. It's always the number of how many actually care. You know, it's never the number. It's the number that will buy the book. Go see the movie. X up, on and on and on. Yes, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm Roger. How do you charge firms for your services, and what would roughly average fees for, you mentioned 6 months or a year, but
Yeah.
how does that work?
So to be totally transparent, I can give you the exact business model. Vaynermedia charges $15,000 a month, and we only sign 1-year deals at this point. So it's $180,000 a year. And what you get for that is you get a community manager who works 50 hours a week on your account, and that is to engage with every conversation on Facebook and Twitter. Then you get a VP of community above that, who's kind of your point person, who you get, I think 16 to 20 hours a month phone engagement, smartest guy in the room stuff, like, hey, what's this thing that Facebook just did? Should we do something? Hey, I got a problem with the community, like, just kind of your point person. There's a level above that. Our senior VPs, kind of my top 5 guys and gals, that you get about 4 hours with for higher strategy stuff. Then there's some hours with me. I'm always part of every first kickoff meeting. And that basically becomes the product that we sell. Most of it is hardcore community. We have started selling something new, which is emerging technology, where we look at emerging technology like you would buy television. So I would go to one of my clients and get $250,000. I would make a commission off that spend, and then I would go to things like Instagram and Quora and these up and coming, the things that I think are the next Facebooks and Twitters, and biz dev with them and create new ad platforms that don't exist. And so a lot of our clients are looking to be digital leaders and are looking to try new things, and that's become a new dynamic that we've started fooling around with, and it's being received extremely well. And it's super fun for us because we want to connect Silicon Valley to Madison Avenue, right? We want to make that connection. So that's pretty much that's the black and white of it. Yeah, yes, sir. How I was an idiot. I mean, like literally, I would get the title of an email and know that it was the SEO. Like, Gary, you're wrong. I'm like, SEO. Hey, I'm an SEO expert. You are wrong, right? Everybody was really mad at me for that statement. And I wasn't getting any love for it until about 6 or 8 weeks ago, Google puts out a blog post and talks about how it's going more social with its algorithm. Now, here's why I thought SEO was in trouble. And SEO is not completely dead, or will it ever be completely dead. But this is where I really was scared about SEO 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I wrote about Crush It. I don't know how many of you guys have used Google for 10 or 11 years like I have, or whatever it is now. It's not as good. In 2002, 2001, 2003, 2004, and I could see a bunch of you shaking your heads, must have been users of it back then. That shit was on like Donkey Kong, right? I typed in something, the first result was right 9 out of 10 times. It was unbelievably good. I never even knew there was a second page of Google. I never went 10 deep. Past 10 deep was insane. So slowly but surely just living it, because that's how I roll, right? Like what I write about, and the reason I think I'm successful is I live stuff and then I talk about it. I just live stuff early enough that I can still talk about it early enough. So this isn't guessing for me. I use Google every single day. I could feel the product getting worse. I could feel myself not wanting to even go there at times because it was like, maybe I'll just go to, weird things like Wikipedia is worse than Google and I would go there. Like I could feel myself changing my habits because I wasn't getting what I needed. So it was very easy for me to be like, and listen, I knew what was going on with Link Farms, Demand Media, Mahalo. I was paying attention to what everybody was doing, right? And I was like, Google can't let this happen. If I start feeling like this as an early user, if this trickles down to the way people feel, this is their billion-dollar golden goose. So I really started getting worried for SEO because people started gaming search engines to become first-page landing pages so that you land on it, click on some sort of ad, convert, whatever, and it was an ecosystem that wasn't in the best interest of the end user. Every startup I invest in, here's how they always want me, I got 3 pitches this morning. Gary, great news. Dave McClure and Chris Sacca are investing. Mashable and TechCrunch are gonna write about it. We're like a mashup between Foursquare meets Gowalla meets Ustream meets Instagram meets the cloud. And it's all amazing, right? And my answer always is, what problem are you solving? Right? That's what I care about if I'm going to be involved in a company. Are you solving something for a user? Google, because of people that were gaming the SEO, or creating this SEO ecosystem, were making the product not as good for the end user, and I knew that ultimately that had to become a factor. I told you I wanted to write Thank You Economy before Crush It early on. I don't know if you caught that part. So I already thought that word of mouth and social graph influence on buying was going to grow as more people were putting out these micro thoughts. And I just saw a conversion of that. And it's still where I think it's going. I think we're just in the beginning stages. There's nobody in this room that watched 100 episodes of Wine Library TV that wouldn't rather the first result for Chardonnay when they type in Google be my recommendations through Twitter than somebody who gamed it and created a Chardonnay page and so that you can click a Google ad. So, yeah, I understand that people are making their livelihood through SEO. That's the question you asked, right? That's where you started. Somebody bought 10,000 horses the day before Henry Ford created the car. He lost, right? That's just the way innovation is. SEO wasn't here 15 years ago. There's a lot of people that made a lot of money on SEO that, there's a lot of companies. I was at an insurance company today in the great state of Ohio, Progressive. They grew heavily because of SEO and because of AdWords. They won on innovation. They were 24th place. They went to 4th place. Innovation came, they executed in it, and it's awesome. Here's the number one thing I live by. They're like one of my favorite statements today, and I said this to my dad a long time ago, and it stuck. And very few things stick with my dad, so I knew this was a powerful one. He was talking, I finally looked at him, I said, Dad, I was like 20. I said, Dad, you can never fight the market. I don't want to hear about how you want it to be. This is the way it is, and we have to execute. So, my answer to you is you can't fight the market. If SEO still has relevance and it matters, if people want to pay for it and it converts, God bless. But if it's evolving, like I think it is, like Google is starting to flirt and say it's going to, like it's clearly going to because we're all living in a social world and we can feel the vibrations at some level or another, then the market's going to change and you're going to have to execute. And everybody else who makes money in SEO is going to have to execute in the reality of the marketplace. The 3 biggest sports in America in 1945 were baseball, boxing, and horse racing. People made lots of money. And now, boxing promoters don't make as much, right? Markets change, And so that's my answer to that. Yes, sir.
So along those lines, you've made a pretty big shift. You did 1,000 episodes on Wine Library TV and jumped over to the Daily Great because of mobile. A large part of it, I would assume. If that's going there, what else do you see? What vibrations are you feeling?
What vibrations am I feeling? I feel like I'm obsessed with mobile. I can't imagine having a business strategy going into 2012 that doesn't heavily involve mobile. If nothing else, you've got to start debating, right? Who has desktop computers anymore, right? Look how much changes so quickly. Everybody's computing on a laptop or an iPad or a phone. Here's a really interesting question. I want you to answer this following question. How many of you think about your day-to-day life? How far is your telephone away from you at any point in a 24-hour day, including while you sleep? How many people here always, including when they sleep, are within hand's reach of their phone? Raise your hand. Let's look at this one more time. I want everybody to see this, especially for people. One more time, raise your hand fully in the air, and I want everybody to look around. In hand's reach. I mean, you know, you got a waterproof phone? I mean, right? I mean, that's scary. Like, if you want to talk about how we're going to turn into robots, it's starting with this.
Sure.
I'm serious. Like, one of the things, I think this is going to get really, really interesting. You know, I know we're all going to pay for shit with this very shortly, so no more wallet, right? I mean, that's 20. I mean, that's Japan and South Korea right now. I'm not being a genius. We're all going to Starbucks next year, 2012, and you're paying like this. That's firm. That ship has sailed. The next thing I'm interested in is, what about this making your life better? One of my favorite ideas is, I've been telling AJ, I said, I want to launch an app called Better Life, or like Personal Robot. What you do is, you type in the shit that you want to accomplish. Like, I want to lose 20 pounds, right? I want to learn more about tea, right? I want to take my wife to more interesting art museums, right? And literally, you put stuff into an app, and because of geolocation and payment, it starts living that life. Can you imagine when we only pay with this, and in your Better Life app, you say you want to lose 20 pounds, and you go to Burger King, and you get to pay, and it doesn't let you swipe it? I mean, that's coming, right? One of the interesting vibrations I feel is the disruption of anything in the middle. For example, this may be the last book I write. I know you guys know I have a 10-book deal, but what a lot of people didn't know is Crush It had an out, that if it sold enough copies in the first year, that I could, you know, opt out of the contract, because I'm crafty that way. And so I opted out. I signed a new book deal with this. I'm gonna have a very tough time signing another publishing deal, because they're just keeping too much of the money for being a platform, right? So we've seen music disrupted, right? I think that publishing is about to get very disrupted. Direct to digital devices, right? And then even Amazon now is offering opportunities to print, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
I was going to ask you what you think of what Seth is doing.
Yeah, so Godin's already done that. I think, I think you've got to look at that, right? I mean, I still love retail, and that's why I'm so big on printing, but Amazon's offering printing it too, but then does Amazon play nice with the other things? So there's a lot of factors. I may self-publish and go direct to electronic devices. There's all those dynamics. I think television's the one that I want to see fall, not because of anything. Just want to make sure not to close this door. I want television to fall just to shock everybody, because everybody in TV does what I love. Back to the horses. There was more horses sold for transportation the year before Henry Ford created the car than any other year. So everything always hits its top peak before it gets collapsed. Everybody in the TV world, I'm rep by CAA, a very big agency. Every time I come there, they know what I'm talking about. They know the stuff I'm talking about. They was like, Gary, literally, I walk in the building, like somebody who doesn't even represent me is like, did you see the numbers? More people watch TV now than ever. I'm like, fuck you. It's really funny. They all know my stance on this. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to happen pretty soon. I do think that Apple will launch a television, an actual television, not the geeky Apple TV thing. I do think your iPad will become your remote control, and when they're connected, because right now, there's a couple of nerds in here that know how to wire, Apple TV to their Video 4 and all this. Some of you might go ultra nerd and have a boxy box. Awesome, great. But the normal people in the world don't know what that stuff is. That's why those things don't sell. I don't want to take an Apple box and connect it. I tell one of the people at Vaynermedia to come and do it. I'm like, I don't want to do that. People don't want to do that. They don't even know how to do it. When your television is connected directly to your iPad, you're watching a video and you hit one button and it starts playing on your television, that's when TV is going to be disrupted. And when that happens, $1 trillion in revenue is going to be in play. I think everything in the middle is in trouble. For example, retail. This one is something a lot of people are not talking about. I've seen some prototypes, and I'm very aware of, and I very much believe in the smart refrigerator. So, when your refrigerator is now RFID'd and UPC scanned out, and you are a Aquafina drinker, and you put 6 Aquafina in, you take 6 out. You put 6 in, you take 6 out. And your refrigerator starts Pandoring your ass. When your fridge starts acting like Pandora, and it understands that I'm an Aquafina drinker, and when I'm down to 1 Aquafina in there, and it reorders it for me, and delivers to my home, that's going to be massive retail disruption. You know who should be scared of that? Whole Foods, Albertsons, Kroger's, Costco, Walmart, and that's coming. And it's not going to stop with your refrigerator. You're going to have smart homes. It's going to know how much toothpaste you've got left, how much gel you have left, how much oil you need, and that stuff's coming. So I think everything in the middle, back to the vibrations question, is in play. I look at anything that is in the middle, and I'm like, how can that be disrupted? Where's the opportunity? I think it should happen in my business. I don't think there should be wine stores. If wineries are good enough and they can go direct to consumer, they should ship to your home. I just know they're not good enough at marketing and building brands to get away with it. And the same thing with a lot of consumer brands. But the biggest consumer brands, and there's always vibrations in the air that people don't take seriously. For example, this is super nerdy. General Mills did a Groupon offer the other day. Let me tell you why this is important. For General Mills to do an offer direct to consumer and skip over the politics that must have created with Target and Walmart and Kroger. And by the way, that little group, I don't give a shit if they sold 1 billion Groupon offers, that still doesn't represent all the business that they jeopardized by doing that politically with what their real business is. The fact that they went there is a much bigger deal. I'm a nerd about this stuff. This is what I'm paying attention to. I know it's not interesting to everybody, but that is the kind of things that I'm looking for that's saying, holy crap, because I understand the business dynamics behind it. It's not about 1 million friends on Twitter. It's not about a Facebook ad campaign. It's about culture shifts that are really going to change the way business is done in America. Thank you.
I want to see if I can do a real quick interview with you.
Yeah, if you want to do a couple minutes?
Let's do it. Here's my card. Okay. Go ahead, turn it on. The mic set up here, and make sure the sound's coming out. Good. Test 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay. Hey, why don't you stand up and hold your book, Gary?
Well, I'll let it go. I don't want to.
Okay, cool. Hey, okay, we're all set. Another episode Riding Away with Dave, and here with a very special guest, Gary Vaynerchuk. Chuck. Right. And Gary, we're here at the Barnes & Noble, Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
And I guess you've been on a whirlwind tour with your book signing and everything. Why don't you let the audience know all about your book, and it's the Thank You Economy, and
sure.
Go ahead and take it away.
First of all, I love the name of your show.
Okay.
I need to come up with a show that rhymes with my name as well, so I'm going to start thinking about that.
Yeah, okay.
I like that.
Good.
It just talks about the ROI of, I think the big debate with social media and the evolution of the web is, what's the ROI? What's the value of engaging with people on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and Ustream and all these things? And I think the answer is all of it. And so I break down in business terms and practical terms what these culture shifts are, where the world's going, how using these sites matters to your bottom line. And it's something I've been passionate about for about 5 years now. It's how I built my brand and my wine show. That's where I come from. I know a lot of viewers won't know who I am.
Well, why don't we stop right there? Let people know about your background a little bit with your wine show and all the success you've had leading up to where you're at today.
Sure, thanks. I grew my family business from a $3 to a $60 million business by launching a website called WineLibrary.com. And then in 2006, I started a wine show called Wine Library TV, where I sat in front of a camera that looks like this and drank wine for 20 minutes a day. And hundreds,
fun job.
Yeah, it was a good gig.
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of people watching a day, me drinking wine wasn't so bad. But I used Facebook, Twitter, mobile to build my brand and my show. And then I started talking about that. And obviously, because that translates to more things than just wine, people found that interesting. And that's where a lot of this is about.
Wow, and it's been a whirlwind thing. And tonight, I noticed you really had the audience following you, and they had a lot of great questions. What was, do you think, your biggest take-home point that you got across to the audience tonight?
That there's no such thing as a social media campaign. I don't want people to think of social media as a one-night stand or a quick fix. I think, if you're watching this and following Dave, he's obviously been using technology and is doing all this stuff. None of this happens in 5 minutes. It's not one episode. It's a marathon. And something that takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years before it clicks. If you're building something meaningful and long-term, you have to have patience. If you want to build something that matters and has legacy and really has a bottom line, it takes patience.
Good.
Patience.
Good. Hey, well, listen, thank you very much for having patience with me tonight. It was a great pleasure to meet you, and good luck on the road, man. Thank you very much. Okay, there you go, guys. That's a wrap.